talking about Brian Robinson last year, you said he was not particularly efficient, but he was effective. I've said that to my wife all the time.
Oh, just waiting for that drink.
Yeah, of course,
yeah.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times Beth and I have been on a date night. I'm like, listen, this is not going to be efficient, but it will be effective.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Happy Friday. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. I'm Connor Rogers alongside Matthew Berry and Jay Croucher. And fellas, we got a very, maybe not efficient, but effective day on tap. Denny Carter's joining the show. What's on tap for the weekend coming up? All the latest on injuries.
1,000%. Not efficient, very effective.
Gets
the job done.
It's a statement of this show.
Constantly, it's the story of my life. Listen, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be, it's not going to be anything you brag about. But it's going to get the job done.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here. That's what we do here on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. We get the job done. Not in a great way. Not in a way that you're proud of. Not in a way that you wake up in the morning saying, like, that was awesome. But in a way that we're like, all right.
You took a lot of shots yesterday, Matthew. You
Yeah.
kind of aimed for the gag target quite a few times. It was good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to what you've got
I'm
on
punch
Encore.
drunk.
Yeah.
I'm still punch drunk. By the way, breaking news into the Fantasy Football Happy Hour set. Well, we got a lot coming up. We'll figure it all out. We'll talk about Thursday night. We got Denny, blah, 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 blah. But
looks like Deshaun Watson has a little shoulder issue and was limited at practice, had a throw at practice, and then he was taken aside by a trainer, as reported by The Athletic, and now the line is moving towards Baltimore, as you would expect, and inching towards pick.
So I thought that was interesting. I'm looking on DraftKings right now, and the line moved. It opened at the current line was Ravens plus 2.5. It's still at plus 2.5. Does Deshaun Watson not move the line?
They like DTR? Fans of DTR?
It's coming out that they've just released that he was limited, which limited normally means you're throwing, but the beat report, and I'll get that name, was that he basically called over to the trainer after his first throw of practice, and then DTR came in. So, look, these things, you never know with line moves, because sometimes people just want more information before they bet it and really trigger a line move. But, yeah, I would be betting the Ravens at plus 2.5.
Yeah, I just literally, you just saw me do that right on air. I literally just put down money on Ravens plus 2.5 and Ravens money line.
Yeah, go
Ravens.
Ravens.
I mean, like, which I think is, by the way, I think there's a chance the Ravens win regardless, but
sure.
Certainly, we like DTR, but we don't think.
We like Lamar Jackson more.
Yeah, there you go. That's okay. And that's okay.
That's the point.
Yes.
That's the point, is that, so no Nick Chubb and now no Deshaun Watson. I think you would have to, you wouldn't feel nearly as good. DTR, super mobile, right? And by the way, he'd be an interesting, this is my initial take, is that he'd be an interesting, if you're playing like DraftKings DFS and you're like he'll be really cheap. Like, I think he's interesting in a GPP because he'll get you some rushing yards. And if you're desperate at quarterback, I could see you doing worse. But I think you have to lower expectations for Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and David Njoku, who already hasn't really produced this year.
Yep, and that was from Zach Jackson at The Athletic, at Achane Jackson on Twitter. We saw Watson.
By the way, that's a great Twitter handle.
That's very good.
Achane Jackson, nice job.
Yeah,
that's the first one I've heard that.
Better than at Connor J. Rogers.
Yes.
We saw Watson throw one pass, then he walked over to the trainer at the start of practice. Have to guess DTR is getting prepped to play. We'll hear from Stefanski in an hour. So that's pretty ominous as far as limited practice reports go.
Yeah.
So I would guess that he's probably not going to play based off of that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
You gag? No.
My brain was really working there. Working overtime.
Always got to tread carefully in this zone in particular.
I had a joke.
Yeah.
I had a joke in terms of what kind of treatment Deshaun Watson might get on that shoulder, and then I thought, that's probably too far over the line, and then I redid the joke in my head, thinking, well, maybe I could, and I'm like, nah, that's still probably too dicey. Yes. And so, that was the process.
You got to take the cold strike one there.
Understand.
Yeah.
So there you go. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Browns. Either all the kind of things in terms of what to expect from the Browns offense with either a limited Deshaun Watson or Dorian Thompson-Robinson under center. These are the kind of topics that Jay Croucher and I will discuss with Michael Smith and Taylor Swift. Maybe. Allegedly. On Fantasy Football Pregame, live 11 a.m. Eastern, all the way up until kickoff, 1 o'clock Eastern, on Peacock, and also live from the Applebee's set at MetLife Stadium in the parking lot there. Again, we have not heard confirmation from Taylor or her representatives that she's coming, but we also haven't gotten a no.
Yep.
We just haven't gotten a response. So it could be anything.
The insiders are working on it. Yeah, they know she's going to the game.
My guess is they're figuring out the tickets and the security, and then just we're on the. Well, I'm sure we'll get a response later today after we're off air, just saying we'll come by like at 11:30 or
Star-studded lineup on pregame. Brad Pitt will be in Seg 2. Barack Obama Seg 3.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great
1,000%. Can't wait. Just all the stars will be there. I heard she's bringing Kelsey too before the game as well. So it'll be. We're going to talk to both of them.
Let's get into Roto World player news. Donna or Travis is definitely the question when you say Kelsey.
Or Jason.
Why
not Jason?
From what I understand is we're going to need a bigger table because they're all coming.
Yes.
The entire Kelsey clan, which includes Taylor Swift now.
The entire Kelsey clan.
It's just a mess.
Along with Taylor Swift and maybe Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar. Yeah.
So anyway, it'll be great. Just tune in for the whole show. You can't wait to see our exclusive interview with Taylor Swift.
There was a football game last night, believe it or not.
Kind of.
Kind of a football game last night as the Lions take care of business at Lambeau. Shout out to the Lions fans that packed out Lambeau Field. That was maybe more surprising than the game, seeing that before the game. But the story of this one, guys, David Montgomery, we wake up yesterday morning. We don't know if he's going to play. 24 hours later, David Montgomery's the story of fantasy. Jay, 32 carries, 121 yards, and most importantly, 3 touchdowns for the Lions workhorse running back.
Yeah, I guess his thigh or whatever is fine. Just straight into
Dan Campbell was always
the fact that he was questionable in a way and then just gets 32 carries, gets the 3 touchdowns as well. He's getting the goal line work. He is now the favorite in the market to lead the league in rushing touchdowns, which would be a nice encore to Jamal Williams doing it last season as the Detroit Lions running back. So yeah, I mean, you called it, Matthew, earlier in the season. He's been a workhorse. Jahmyr Gibbs, we'll get to him, but Dave Montgomery's just the locked and loaded. I mean, borderline RB1 at this point.
At least 17 touches and 12 fantasy points. Like, again, not effective, but efficient. Like, he gets it done.
The other way.
I mean, not
you were talking about yourself, not
David
Montgomery.
Thank you. Thank you. Not efficient, but certainly effective. Like, the volume's going to be there. It is one of the best offensive lines in football. It's one of the reasons why we said throughout the preseason, hey, at cost, we prefer David Montgomery to Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, I know he's not sexy or fun or exciting like Gibbs, but we're going to look up a year from now and he's going to have 250 carries and double-digit touchdowns.
You know what?
And he's well on his way.
The sneaky thing about Montgomery as well, it became very clear last night. They don't trust Jared Goff. They do not trust him around the goal line. I understand that Goff has been good the past year and a bit, but they don't want to put the ball in his hands if they don't have to. And you saw it on the pick, which as soon as Jared Goff leant back and kind of pushed that pass on the first drive, you just felt something bad was going to happen. So I think it's the right approach with Goff, who he's been very solid, but at the same time, he does have these moments of madness, and they will run it at the goal line if they can.
And they can.
Sorry.
No, and they can.
Yes.
They don't need to trust Jared Goff in the goal line.
That's 100%. They're a running team.
Yep.
That's what they want to be.
Yes. Yep.
Like the strength of that team is that offensive line, and so they really like him. And and I got to give credit to Jason Garrett, my colleague on Football Night in America, my friend Coach Garrett, who's been a friend of the show too, by the way. We've had Coach here, but like he talked about this, and this is something I brought up in our preseason, was just like he went out to Lions camp to interview Dan Campbell for the opening night game, the Lions Chiefs game, and he was just like, he was there at Lions camp for a couple of days, and he's just like, I'm telling you, they love David Montgomery. They love him between the tackles. That's what they want to do. They want to be, there's all the cliches, but the cliches sometimes are cliches because they're true. Dan Campbell is an old school football coach who wants to, I'm going to run the ball and I'm going to play good defense and we're going to bite their kneecaps and whatever, all the stuff we love about Dan Campbell. But I mean, like, again, it's one of the best offensive lines in football. He's a workhorse running back. That's why they brought him in here. They like him more than Jamal Williams. He's better for that role. So this is not a fluke. It is why Dave Montgomery was on my preseason love list. It is why I have a ton of David Montgomery. It's one of the reasons why, Jay, I couldn't get Luke Musgrave into my lineup yesterday. We talked about it. We showed it. I got a lot of grief draft day because I took David Montgomery over Alexander Madison. That is looking smart at the moment. We'll see. A lot of NFL to go. But look, we're not expecting 3 rushing touchdowns, but this is much more legit than not. He is a borderline RB1 until future notice. Like, game script also worked in his favor in a big way here.
Yeah.
And it worked in his favor in a big way, which is one of the reasons why Jahmyr Gibbs, Connor, couldn't get on the field here.
He couldn't get on the field, and they haven't really haven't needed to lean on Gibbs as much as you would think. They are scheming up some throws for him, but nothing's really working. They do like him as a change of pace runner. He could be a third down back, but the reality is for the Lions, until we see them place, significantly behind, how often are they constantly targeting Jahmyr Gibbs? I think people that drafted him, where they got him ADP, were hoping for 8 targets a game and some rush production, and we're just not really seeing the Lions need him to do that.
They got one of the easiest schedules in the league as well the rest of the way, which is almost kind of, usually that's good for your running back. Not in this situation, I don't think. I think you want them throwing the ball to Gibbs. And we talk often about touchdown-dependent flexes. I don't think Gibbs is really that because he doesn't really get the red zone carries. No. He's more of a big play-dependent flex where I think that for him to provide value, he's going to need to break one each game.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm just so right. Like, he's been very disappointing, especially relative to ADP, right? Single-digit fantasy points in 3 or 4 games this season, 2 total red zone touches in the 3 games in which David Montgomery has actually played. 43% of the team snaps, 29% of the team's rushes this season. All right, but I'm going to offer some hope. Here I am. I'm your pal Matty here. I'm going to offer some hope to managers of Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, whatever. It's a sunk cost in terms of what you spent ADP, but you're like, do I have anything usable here? And the answer is yes. In this same office, again, Dave Montgomery is Jamal Williams from last year. Jahmyr Gibbs is DeAndre Swift from last year, who, by the way, was a top 15 fantasy running back on a points per game basis last year in this offense, and was, in fact, each of the last 3 seasons. I had producer Damien go look at this. Okay. Last year, so Jahmyr Gibbs through the first 4 games this season, taking out that week 3 game that David Montgomery was out, right? Because that skews it. So the 3 games in which Montgomery played through the week, he's averaging 11.7 touches per game, 9.89 fantasy points per game. Okay, 11.7 touches per game. DeAndre Swift through the first 4 weeks of last year, 11.7 touches per game. Literally the exact same. Now, he averaged 14.9 fantasy point, 14.3, sorry. He averaged 14 fantasy points. Gibbs is averaging 9 because Swift had a couple of touchdowns. And I think had Gibbs not tripped over himself in week 1 and he danced it in the end zone, I think the narrative's a little bit different on him. The fact is Gibbs just hasn't gotten into the end zone there. He did get 1 red zone touch last night. Obviously, that didn't convert. But again, he's a PPR flex play. And again, they were running the ball effectively. He's a rookie. They trust Montgomery obviously a lot more in pass pro. I think the usage for Gibbs will increase somewhat. But to your point, Connor, just as long as you reset your thigh and I have a big play dependent flex, but he's a guy that has that skill set, I think he's going to be okay.
Yep. And I think this might be the offense with the most defined roles in the league now, right? Because it's exactly the same as it was last year, to your point with Williams and Swift, just it's Montgomery and Gibbs. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's a locked-in wide receiver 1. It's Sam Laporta, who's a locked-in tight end 1.
And he's Hawkinson.
Yeah, and then the other guys are just, kind of guys. Josh Reynolds and Marvin Jones Jr., Khalif Raymond, they're not really going to provide value outside of Reynolds potentially some weeks. But, we know exactly what this team is.
And when Jameson Williams comes back, again, we'll reset our expectations there, and we'll see how much they use him, but it'll take him a little while to get up to speed. But again, there's a lot of usable pieces to this offense. Congratulations to the Lions. Really exciting, by the way. And to your point about schedule, Carolina at Tampa Bay, at Baltimore, home to Las Vegas. None of those defenses scare you at all.
Yep. They haven't even played the Bears yet as well. They're in the
2.
division.
They get 2 games against the Bears.
2 games against Minnesota to come as well. That defense, it's going to be a good year for the Lions.
On the other side of things,
One pride.
Disaster class for the Packers backfield, right? Aaron Jones returns from injury, kind of. 5 carries, 18 yards. He had 1 catch for negative 4 yards. But on the other side, A.J. Dillon, guys, it's just not working, right? It's just not working.
A.J. Dillon, I have no problem dumping A.J. Dillon. Yep. You know what I mean? We talked about dropping him last week. If he's still on your roster, feel free to drop him. Aaron Jones, I'm willing to chalk it up to first game back, might have been a snap count. If you look at the time possession, it was 37 minutes and change for the Lions. The Packers just didn't have the ball. They were down big early, and so game script worked against Aaron Jones as well. He'll have 10 days. Again, kind of the mini bye here. So 10 days before their next game, which is they're playing the Raiders on Monday Night Football. If somebody's panicking your league on Aaron Jones, I would buy low. He was the #1 running back in fantasy week 1. He had a bad day at the office. It is what it is.
Yep. Getting to the pass catches for the Packers, I think that's maybe the more interesting thing is Romeo Doubs is a big thing. And we talk about, Puka Nacua and all the targets he's been getting. Romeo Doubs might be more sustainable for him the rest of the way because he doesn't have Cooper Kupp coming back into his offense. He's had 25 targets the past 2 games. He was 9 for 95 in this game, in a game where they didn't, to your point, have the ball that much. And also, really should have had a touchdown on that kind of penultimate drive, but there was the miscommunication and Love throws the pick. So this might be the last chance to buy low-ish in a way on Romeo Doubs, just because had he gone for 105 and a touchdown, you're not buying low. But because they didn't get that last play, maybe there's still a window for Romeo.
He's had at least 18 fantasy points in 3 or 4 games this season. He's been targeted on 44% of his routes, all of which is great. The only thing, I agree with everything you're saying, Jay. My only concern here is, again, Watson was on a snap count. And by the way, and we'll get to him in a second, but Luke Musgrave leaves this game early with a concussion. And so it's just, and Aaron Jones was on a snap count. I just don't know if we know enough yet about this Packers passing offense. But certainly, Romeo Doubs was somebody who impressed last year. He was in and out of the lineup with the injuries, but, 4th-round guy that I know, Connor, you talked about last year, saying he should have gone a lot earlier.
He should have.
I think you had a day 2 grade on him.
Yeah, coming out of Nevada, he was a big play threat. He was somebody that constantly won down the field, but he's also developed. What impresses me with his NFL career is how consistent he is in the short and intermediate area now, too. He doesn't need to just win vertically all the time. So Doubs, I know they loved him last year, and Aaron Rodgers was trying to get on the page with the young receivers, and they both got hurt, so there was inconsistency. Jordan Love's been growing with him. I know Jaden Reed's snap count keeps going up, but I don't think that affects Doubs at all. I think Doubs is maybe the most constant in this pass game, and let's not forget, Christian Watson, unfortunately, just feels like he's always dealing with something, so it's nice that he's back, but the fact that they kind of have to treat him this limited way, I'm buying in on Doubs being consistent.
By the way, in deeper leagues, Jaden Reed, 5 or more targets in every game this season, played 66% of the snaps. And he almost had a touchdown, too. Like a slightly better throw, he gets the feed in.
Yep. Does he suffer more, though, than Doubs when Watson gets more up to speed, just the type of receiver that Watson is?
Jaden Reed or Watson? Yeah, I think so. I think that they like Reed as the slot. The other guys, they can all move around. I think Musgrave, we'll see how long he's out. I think that would help Reed because, once again, you're going to use Musgrave as a big slot, Reed as a traditional small slot. I think Watson and Doubs, though, they're guys that could play on the inside and outside.
Yep.
So
last thing here from this game is Luke Musgrave. I promised you that a Luke Musgrave game was coming. Luke Musgrave drank free. Unfortunately, leaves the game very early after 1 reception for 1 yard with a concussion. We hope he gets better. Awful, but I took the over on 37.5 receiving yards for Musgrave. Their other tight ends combined 6 for 39. It would have cashed, damn it. Anyway, just a bummer. We
just
hope
text DraftKings that. Text them that stat. They'll pay out your bet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they will. Anyway, so what are you going to do? It's we hope Musgrave gets better and it clears the concussion protocol early. But just a tough break for all of us that started him last night.
Getting away from this game and into the weekend, here are some of the biggest injuries we're tracking. We led the show with the latest around Deshaun Watson, but James Conner back at practice in full. Brandon Ayuk working his way back. He's still limited. Austin Eckler and Saquon Barkley dealing with the ankle injuries. They're both limited. Jimmy Garoppolo returned to practice in limited capacity. We know he's in concussion protocol. Hollywood Brown limited with the thumb. Zay Jones still not practicing with the knee. Devontae Smith, a new one, but that's illness. He might have some time here. We'll keep an eye on that one going into fantasy football pregame. Deebo Samuel, Jay, he's still not practicing with both the ribs and the knee injury. This could be... It feels like with Deebo, it feels like veteran rest in the beginning of the week, but when it goes this long, you have to wonder if he'll even play. Yeah,
particularly given their 14-point favorites over the Cardinals. Maybe if this was Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys in a couple of weeks, that would be a different story, but suspect that if there's any doubt over Deebo's health, then he won't go. It's good to see Jimmy Garoppolo practicing in limited fashion because it seemed like he might even miss the game. Now it seems certainly
that's a big one. Against the defense he could play well against.
Yep, absolutely. That's about as fantasy favorable as it gets, match up against the Chargers in a shootout.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right.
I agree.
All right, let's move on here because we have a very special guest today, guys. Our good friend Denny Carter is joining us for the show.
That's a liberal use of the word.
For liberal use. Hey, Denny.
It's a liberal use of the word good. It's candidly a little bit of a liberal use of the word friend. Colleague.
Denny, don't take it personally. He's grouchy today about the Musgrave injury.
Yeah.
At the happy hour.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for not wearing the cardigan.
I I didn't dress up. I'm trying to act like I'm at a bar. I'm wearing a t-shirt, and
a
trying to be
one
of the guys.
Yeah, you should be holding a beer. Yeah, let's get Denny a 6-pack of Bud Light. Let's send him that.
I have a seltzer.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
Want me to take it away here? Yeah. Now that
I don't know what we're supposed to ask him. I just wanted to make fun.
Now that you ran the happy hour train right over Denny as he joins the show, Denny is joining
he's part
us.
Of the family.
He writes the Regression Files every single week. Players who are overproducing or underproducing based on their workload, playing time, and opportunity. Denny, let's start on a positive note. Since Barry did not, we will jump right into Tony Pollard, who you see positive regression for going into this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, look. He's been fine for fantasy over the first 3 weeks, but it could be so much more. And I think when that opportunity meets his talent going forward, we're going to have huge blow-up weeks. I actually like him to have sort of a blow-up week this week against the Patriots. Tony Pollard, 24 rushes inside the 20. That leads the league by 11. Okay, well, Dave Montgomery actually crept up on him last night, but I mean, headed into week 4, that led by 11. So Pollard is seeing enormous workloads, great opportunity inside the 10. That's what we want. Again, you're not disappointed, but you want a little more. I think you're going to get a little more from Pollard in the coming weeks.
I think we might be kind of at the point where the Cowboys might want to hide Dak Prescott a little bit, just with how he's played the first 3 weeks of the season. And his stats don't look as bad, but he threw that pick to Sauce Gardner that Sauce dropped in week 2, missed CeeDee Lamb wide open in week 1. He just didn't play great in week 1, didn't need to, and then was kind of terrible last week. And this is a team, I think, that they want to run the ball, not unlike Detroit's offense.
Fantasy success very simply comes from talent and opportunity. We all know and agree on Tony Pollard's talent, and the opportunity has been there. He's the only player in the NFL with 25 or more red zone touches this year. He's had 15 carries inside the 10-yard line through 3 games, which is 3 more than he had all of last season as well. So he just hasn't been, he's just gotten unlucky with some of that. So to Denny's point, 100%, it's coming. Again, this is a guy that has #1 running back in fantasy upside. That's within the range of outcomes here for Tony Pollard. So certainly, if somebody in your league is willing to give him up for less than a top 5 running back price, pounce, because it's coming.
Denny, how about another one here in Josh Downs, the rookie wide receiver for the Colts, rookie slot wide receiver, coming off a season-high 12 targets last week. He's got the Rams on deck this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about Downs is that the Colts didn't really change the way they operate when Minshew was in. I know that sounds a little funny because Minshew is not Anthony Richardson, some would say. But, as far as pass rate, rush rate, it all stayed stable. So I think that Josh Downs is here to stay as, a PPR wide receiver 2, maybe low end, kind of a PPR scam, as my colleague Pat Doherty would say. And I totally agree with that. And I love a PPR scam. Okay. You can accuse me of that because I do enjoy a scammy player like Downs. Hopefully the touchdowns, present itself for Downs going forward. Not really a red zone threat so far, but this team doesn't have a solid red zone pass catcher. Not even Michael Pittman is seeing those sort of opportunities. So I think that the route rate is there, the targets are there, and this Colts defense stinks, which means the offense is going to have to keep their foot on the gas throughout these games.
Yeah, Jay, we haven't seen much from Alec Pierce in this passing offense either. They're not really utilizing the tight ends a ton. Downs, nice summer for him, a true slot. He's not going anywhere. He literally lives in the slot. 75% of his targets have come from there. I do see the positive direction going for him.
Yeah, I like that you said he literally lives in the slot.
Yeah.
His residence is
drinks his coffee there.
in Casa del Slot. Josh Downs, his receptions prop on DraftKings is 3.5. Alec Pierce is 2.5, back to the under. He is the clear number 2 guy, and there is upside scope there for a team that they've had leads lately as well, so they haven't needed to throw, particularly in that game in week 2 against the Texans. So as Anthony Richardson gets more up to speed, if they do have to throw more, I think clearly Pittman's the #1 guy, but then Downs 2 and then Pierce are kind of distant throw.
He's been impressive, and I think more importantly, I think the Colts as a passing offense are more competent than we thought. They're passing more than we thought they were, whether it's Richardson or Minshew, and so we like Don's talent. So I really like the call here by Denny because he's not somebody we talked about him a little bit earlier in the week, but he's not somebody that's getting a ton of buzz out there in fantasy circles. There's other rookie wide receivers that everyone's, the Rashee Rices of the world, the Marvin Mims, the Quentin Johnstons of the world. But especially in PPR leagues, I like the call here on Josh Downs, Denny.
Yep, and Steichen's a good coach, and the offensive line is playing better than it did last year.
He also has a great matchup this week against a Rams team that has been targeted relentlessly in the slot. So I think that it could be another double-digit target day for Downs.
Denny, let's look on the negative regression side of things. This player in Jerome Ford was the waiver wire darling not that long ago, but you see a tough week ahead against Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, really tough matchup. The fact that he had to play the Titans and now the Ravens is really unfortunate for folks who picked him up and said, hey, I have the Browns' new RB1. And you do, but Kareem Hunt ate into, I think, Ford's workload a little more than what we would like to see. I know Hunt is dealing with multiple injuries now. Tough week back for the old veteran Hunt. But if Hunt plays this week, you can expect him to split the pass-catching workload with Ford, and Ford has really struggled outside of that long run. If you guys remember, he had against the Steelers 70-yard run down to the goal line. Besides that, he's averaging, you take that out, and I hate to do that. I hate to be the guy who says, if you take the big play out, he hasn't been good. I'm going to go ahead and do that. He's averaging less than 2 yards a carry if you take that out. So it has been tough sledding. I don't know if you're going to get that upside from Jerome Ford going forward. Now, last week was fine. You got 2 touchdowns, but that sort of painted over an otherwise ordinary outing for Ford.
Yep, and with Ford as well, one of the best things that he had going for him was that the Browns were 2.5, almost 3-point favorites against the Ravens. That's already down to pick now on DraftKings since we started the show.
Yeah, it's
because Deshaun Watson, he'll probably be officially listed questionable, but it's trending down.
And the total has dropped 2.5 points, so probably less opportunity for touchdowns for Jerome Ford.
Denny, you said that, with Ford, you take the big play out and it looks a little different. If you take the big play out from Marvin Mims, you wouldn't think he exists. Basically, the only thing Marvin Mims does is make big plays because he's running, 9 routes per game at this point. You see, Mims has Chicago on deck, which is good, but the usage or lack thereof of Mims has been questionable.
You have to sort of have faith in Sean Payton, and I don't know how easy that will be for fantasy managers right now. You have to have faith in Payton that he will get Mims on the field more. Mims is very clearly their best receiver. Cortland Sutton right now is their official wide receiver 1 when you look at air yards and targets and everything. But Mims could be that guy. So projecting forward, you have to believe that he just forces his way onto the field. Through 3 games, guys, Mims is 8th in pass routes among pass catchers for Denver. 8th, okay? Now, we saw a little bit of an uptick in playing time against the Dolphins. He had a long kick return. He had a long reception. These things, they can't continue unless he gets more playing time, unless he gets more opportunity. We just have to hope for that. As it is now, he's going to regress big time, probably starting this week.
Jay, we love the talent of Mims. So the problem is he's just not on the field enough in an offense that it's been better, but that's not saying a whole lot this year.
Yeah, I don't think with the season sliding away that Sean Payton is really going to trust a rookie wide receiver either, because there are 2 established guys already in Sutton and Judy, and I think disrupting that kind of duopoly is going to be pretty tough for Mims.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. Make sure, of course, to head over.
Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims.
Yeah, you keep on saying that around the halls of NBC.
Analysis.
Yes,
Listen,
you walk in screaming it every day.
Yeah, you know what? And by the way, I'll make it happen at some point. I'll make it happen at some point. I'm going to make shirts and bumper stickers and maybe shot glasses as well.
Right. Be sure to head over.
The fastest guy in the field. You got to get him the ball.
And they took him early for that reason, but just not playing enough. Be sure.
Is there a question?
No, there's a statement, but I can't get it out. So goodbye, Denny.
Next
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Be sure to head over to the NFL and NBC YouTube channel right after happy hour at 1 p.m. to catch Denny's live Q&A. Denny, you're a good friend of the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
I want everyone to make sure. Yeah, I want everyone to ask Denny about his wardrobe, about his haircut.
Yep.
Ask Denny who he likes the most on the show here, who he likes the least.
Right now,
Matthew be third.
Right now, I don't know if it's you, Matthew. I don't know.
Yeah, you're trending downward like Marvin Mims.
I'm definitely at plus money to win that one. There's no question about that. All right, Denny. Hey, we'll see you soon. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Denny.
Later,
man. The toughest competition of the year is here. The biggest talents in men's rugby take the stage as 20 countries compete for 20 days of heart-pounding, hard-hitting action at the Rugby World Cup. Watch every match live on Peacock all the way through the final on October 28th, with games also available on CNBC. When we're going to break, we're coming back. What's on tap for the weekend?
It's been reported by multiple outlets that Taylor Swift will be in attendance this Sunday in MetLife Stadium for the Chiefs-Jets game. And I am here to announce for the first time she's going to be stopping by Fantasy Football pregame.
Just to let Taylor Swift know, she doesn't have to go to this game. I just want to make sure that much is clear.
It's funny, the Jets are only
no, wait, are you kidding me? Shut up, he did not mean that. He did not mean that.
No, I absolutely did.
I'm sorry. You know what? Damn it, I literally just got a note from HR. You need to see them after the show. Yes, Taylor Swift absolutely 100% needs to go to the game that is on NBC and Peacock Sunday night, Connor Rogers. But before that, you can tune into Fantasy Football pregame with myself, Jay Croucher, Michael Smith, and yes, T-Swizzle, live from MetLife Stadium. We're in the parking lot of the Applebee's set there. And Fantasy Football Happy Hours, as you see there, Fantasy Football Happy Hour fans at MetLife, drink for free. I'm worried. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm worried that even though Taylor Swift, I am sure, is going to be stopping by. Again, we haven't heard from her people. We don't have confirmation yet, but I'm sure it's coming. Don't worry. It'll absolutely happen. Because, listen, she's accomplished so much in her career, Taylor Swift has.
She has much.
And you think about what hasn't she accomplished, and it's a very short list. And really, as far as I can tell, the only thing that she has not accomplished in her storied career is being on a fake football pregame show on a streaming network. So, I mean, that's the pinnacle. That's it. Like, that's the last thing she needs.
I think
it's that's the EGOT.
In the unlikely scenario where she doesn't attend, we need backup Swifts. I think we see what DeAndre's doing, what Stromile is doing.
You know what? Stromile, I think we can get Stromile. We might actually be able to get Stromile to
the Swift backup list. It's working.
Yeah, we do.
DeAndre might have things to do on a Sunday.
So whatever. We will. But we're working on getting. We're working on getting Taylor Swift there. But anyway, but here's the thing. Is what I was going to say. So FF Happy Hour fans that show up, drink for free, because I'm worried the game doesn't start till like 8:15 at night, and we're on from 11 to 1. So that's like, I mean, I know Jets fans like to tailgate.
There will be some there.
You think so?
Yeah, even how dire times these
I literally think it's going to be us and like there's going to be like 4 people.
Yeah, that's probably right. I said some.
In theory, the tailgate should go even longer because you're watching Zach Wilson play quarterback.
You need to be, glug glug.
Yeah.
You need to be,
you start out.
You want to be nice and lucid to watch Aaron Rodgers be Patrick Mahomes.
Listen, here's what I'm asking. Here's what you should do. You go to your local package store. You buy a case of Bud Light. You get in the car. Don't open the Bud Light yet. Drive to the
whenever you do.
Yeah. You get on whether you get on the the subway, you drive your car, whatever. You come to the parking lot. You take out your Bud Light. You set up a little shop there in our Applebee's set, and you enjoy Fantasy Football pregame with myself, with Michael, with Jay, and with Taylor Swift. By the way, and if you come, like Jay will spend time with you during the commercial breaks. He will take pictures. He will show you pictures of his kids. He will give you free bets. There you go.
It'd be fantastic.
There are 2 things us Jets fans do. We always win the offseason, and tailgate way too early. So we'll see how it goes for FF pregame.
I'm predicting. Set the line for me. How many fans are there? Set the line for me.
If I was actually going to do it, it'd be like 31.5.
All right.
Ooh, wow.
I'm going to take the under, but so we'll see. I'm going to take the under, so we'll see how that all plays out. Anyway, but please tune in Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern on Peacock.
All right, it's time for What's on Tap.
I was going to use the nickname. I thought,
What's on Tap is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Of course, guys, these are our matchups with the highest point totals. By the way, Bud Light also the official beer sponsor of Fantasy Football. That's right. You see right here.
Yeah. We love ourselves some Bud Light here.
Matchups with the highest point totals going into this weekend. Listen, nothing is as easy to enjoy as Sunday full of football and a fridge full of beer. These are the games we're locking in, starting with the Dolphins at Buffalo.
Why does it have to be a fridge full of beer? Could it be a bathtub full of beer? Could it be a car full of beer? What about an RV full of beer?
Yep. Well,
what about a giant beer can full of beer?
Yeah, while we're playing the terminology, I'm still trying to get over the local package store. I'm not sure what that meant. The local package store, is that what we call it in America?
You haven't heard of that? A package store?
Is that where you buy beer in America?
Yeah, that's what a liquor store is called.
I
is
just
that
call
just a Connecticut thing?
Yeah, it's definitely a Connecticut thing.
Am I crazy, people? Like Packy.
In New York, in New York, I just call it either the corner store, the bodega, or the liquor store.
All right, it's a Connecticut thing. Yeah, the package store. The
more you know.
The more you know. Anyway, whatever you call it, buy Bud Light there. We love ourselves. Some Bud Light. They're friends of the show.
Yep, fridge full of points in Dolphins Bills.
Fridge full of points, along with those beers. The over-under is set at 54 in this game. And Jay, we're coming off a weekend where Raheem Mostert and Achane ran wild in Week 3. What are your expectations going into a tougher matchup against those Bills?
So the big question here, and obviously there are so many players that you are just starting. Josh Allen, Tua, Cook, Mostert, Hill, Diggs, Waddle, even probably Gabe Davis in most leagues. But the question is what is the breakdown going to be between Mostert and Achane? Because that's, I think, what is most fantasy relevant. I think you're probably starting both of these guys anyway because this offense is so high octane. But Matthew, what do you think? What do you think the breakdown will be in carries? Because I go both ways where it looked like Achane had kind of become the primary back in that game against Denver, but then his last touchdown was also, as you can see here, in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left in the game. They were already winning by 43 points. So Mostert was the guy who was pulled, and that's usually the starter's role.
I think Mostert leads this backfield in touches this week. I think that they decided when Jalen Waddle was going to be out that Mostert was actually their bet in terms of how they run their offense, in terms of speed. With all due respect to River Craycraft and Braxton Berrios, and by the way, Craycraft's not going to play this Sunday as well. He's out with an injury, but and Durham Smythe, and it's a team that's built on speed, and I think so Mostert got a lot of more usage in the passing game than we're used to seeing, and so my thought is that they just, not that Mostert, a running back, is similar to Waddle, a wide receiver, but just in terms of some of the scheming stuff that they did, and so I think now with Waddle back, it'll be much more than what we saw kind of the first couple of weeks. So again, I have Achane as 23. So I have as, a high-end flex, obviously. Mostert is my running back 13. So obviously the way I see it is that Mostert, who has 39 touches over the past 2 weeks. I mean, he's averaging almost 20 touches a game. I did that math in my head, by the way, literally just right here. 39 touches over 2 games. I divided it. It's almost 40, so it's like 20. So it's like 19 and a half. Again, like, boom. Like, everyone's like, wow, do you have a steel trap up there? And I kind of do. But I feel like Mostert to Achane, but I think both are most starts there. I think all these guys, the last one I want to talk about in this game real quickly is you mentioned James Cook. Like, I have James Cook as a top 10 play this week as well. I know it's been frustrating given the red zone usage and that they pull him for like Latavius Murray, but 16 plus touches in every game this season, back-to-back games with 100 plus yards from scrimmage as well, right? The Dolphins allow the 5th highest yards per carry to opposing running backs this season. James Cook is a guy there. Everyone you see on your screen there, as you mentioned, Tua and Josh Allen, Cook, Mostert, Achane, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, and I think even Gabe Davis. You're starting all of them. Weirdly, the only guy I'm not starting that I think is an automatic start in this one is Dalton Kincaid, who just seems to be totally splitting snaps with Dawson Knox and feels like Knox has a better shot at a touchdown.
Yep. I think James Cook is 3rd in the league in rushing, which seems insane because it feels like he's gotten no buzz whatsoever. But, I mean, he's getting the work, and this is an amazing offense. And it feels like he has a role that is bigger than, the Devin Singletary role of years past.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get in the end zone. Like, he's not going to go the whole year without scoring a touchdown. It's just, he's but he doesn't. What's been exciting so far is that he hasn't needed that kind of he hasn't needed the touchdowns to keep his fantasy production at a good level.
Our next game here, guys, the Raiders at the Chargers. The Chargers favored by 5.5 points. The over-under is set at 48.5. As we led with earlier in the show, Jimmy G is back at practice in a limited capacity. That is a big factor in this game. But let's say he doesn't play, doesn't make it out of concussion protocol, Jay. Do you still like Jakobi Meyers, Josh Jacobs, and the rest of this Raiders offense, assuming it would be either Aiden O'Connell or Brian Hoyer?
Yeah, that's not great. Those are kind of sad words to say, particularly Brian Hoyer. That would really limit the scope of the offense. But firstly, looks like Garoppolo probably will play if he's in limited practice. And even if he's not, Davante Adams, you just start Davante Adams. I could be playing quarterback, you start Davante Adams. And then Jakobi Meyers is seeing an incredible target share. This offense in the passing game just goes through two guys. And then Jacobs as well. Again, he won the rushing title last year. I think you just have to start Josh Jacobs no matter what.
20 or more touches in 2 of the 3 games he's played this year. And I think actually, while again, might not be as efficient, would be effective. Like, again, if it's Aiden O'Connell or Brian Hoyer under center, they'd lean on the run game even more, feels like. I agree with you. I think it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball. You have to start Davante Adams. And Jakobi Meyers would move down somewhat in my ranks. I have him at wide receiver 19 right now. But if it was not Garoppolo, I'd move him down some. But I think I'd still have him inside my top 30 guys. He's played 2 games this year. He's got 22 targets.
Yep.
That's 11 targets a game. Once again, doing the math, like in my head, like seriously, just like that. I don't have any notes. You can see it here. I promise you. Literally just did that in my head. 11 targets a game. By the way, no team in the NFL has allowed more fantasy points, more yards, or more touchdowns to opposing wide receivers than your Los Angeles Chargers, coached by defensive whiz Brandon Staley. Jakobi Meyers getting a lot of work.
Yep, and I think the other interesting thing of this matchup is who replaces Mike Williams.
Yes.
We think Josh Palmer is the guy. Quentin Johnston, you wouldn't feel confident starting him anywhere. Really need to see it more from him, but Palmer is the guy opposite Keenan Allen, who might see 17 targets in this game.
I agree.
Last week.
I want to ask Connor your opinion on this question. I did a radio interview before I came in, and so they were asking about Palmer versus Quentin Johnston, and I said, Palmer for now, Johnston's more to the stash. They like Quentin Johnston. But I said, honestly, they like Josh Palmer, rightly or wrongly. They like Josh Palmer, and he's been productive when he's gotten an opportunity. And so I don't know. I prefer, as a rookie wide receiver stash on your bench, I prefer Marvin Mims and Rashee Rice to Quentin Johnston. If you're stashing a rookie wide receiver on your bench for the second half of the year, I prefer those 2 guys to Quentin Johnston. The host that it was Dwayne McFarland who said, I hear you, I like all 3 guys, but I have Johnston the highest. I'm curious, Connor, what you think about that statement.
I would lean more with you. I get the allure with Quentin Johnston because of the offense he's in. But I just think they've kind of shown their hand for 3 months now that they just don't trust him yet. And maybe it takes another wide receiver injury, and Gerald Everett's hurt as well. So once again, another pass catcher that they could be down. But with Quentin Johnston right now, I'll say this about Palmer. Palmer coming out of college was a more refined vertical deep threat than Quentin Johnston. Doesn't mean Quentin Johnston wasn't a better prospect. He was. He was just better at a lot of other things. So they're going to go with the guy in Kellen Moore's pass-happy offense that wants to put the ball down the field a little bit more, that they trust in their playbook. And that's Palmer right now, where Mims, Jaden Reed, Rashee Rice, at least we've had the flashes because they actually are on the field more.
What's the issue with Quentin Johnston? Is he just an unrefined route runner they don't trust?
It's a little bit of that. Not the most polished hands. And as great of a player as he was in college at TCU, I think like 4 or 5 of his games last year he went over 100 yards. That's a lot of games he didn't.
Yep.
So there was a lot of times he disappeared. So he was more, not a project wide receiver, but you're betting on a big ceiling that was going to take at least a year or 2 to tap into.
And my argument to him was just like, again, not even arguing talent, but right as we talk about, again, fantasy success comes from talent and opportunity. We think all these kids are talented. So who's got a clear path to playing time? Because it's not like, again, Marvin Mims on a team that the Broncos need to do something. That team's going south. Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy were both on the trade block this offseason. So, it doesn't seem like it's going, it feels like it's going to be a rebuilding year in Denver. And so, you need to get Mims more touches. He's been so productive in such limited time so far this season. And Rashee Rice, there has yet to be a guy that has emerged from that Chiefs passing attack outside of Kelsey. And so Rashee Rice, who almost scored 2 touchdowns last week, he was tackled just before the goal line 2 different times.
It's coming, the Rashee Rice.
And Mahomes is a guy that, said, go get me Rashee Rice. They worked out in the offseason. They drafted him for him. So those guys have a clear path to playing time, significant playing time, than I think Johnston, to your point, at this point, needs another injury.
Yep, and there's a non-zero chance that Rashee Rice becomes Patrick Mahomes' #1 wide receiver, which, again, that didn't mean a ton last year because of Juju Smith-Schuster didn't have an amazing year, but still, that gives him a ceiling and a pathway that Quentin Johnston doesn't have.
They're all stashes, and I don't know that it's a significant difference, but I'm just saying, I feel like there's more ways that the other guys can get to fantasy success quicker than Quentin Johnston this year, even though I really like Johnston.
Our last game here, guys, this one might be a bit of a surprise, but the Vikings at Carolina. The Vikings are 4.5-point favorites over the Panthers in this game. The reason we're talking about it is because the over-under, Jay, is set at 46.5. The Panthers' passing attack looked a lot better with Andy Dalton in Week 3. Can you trust this group of pass catchers with the return of Bryce Young?
Not really, but there is an element to the Vikings where, from a fantasy perspective, it is kind of a a rising tide raises all boats. Is that potentially the thing that you say? But the fact that the Vikings offense is so good and the defense has been so bad, I think there will be opportunity. Look, if it's not going to happen for Bryce Young this week against this defense, then he's in, I would think, a little bit of trouble the rest of the season.
By the way, and I'm surprised, I mean, maybe it's just the entire slate is low, but I would take the under in this game. Like, I'm really surprised. I get it. The Vikings offense is awesome, but the game's not on turf. The game's in Carolina on the grass. And the Panthers defense has not been awful this year. I know the schedule has been, they haven't played a bunch, but like they played Seattle last week. I mean, they're so far through 3 weeks of the season, they're a top 10 pass defense. Again, some of it's because teams have been able to run against them, but I don't see them putting up. I feel like I think the Panthers are going to play at a methodical pace with Bryce Young back as well. And so the Vikings are not going to need to score a ton here to win this game. And I don't know. I don't see this being like a big explosion of fantasy points. I mean, I think you're starting the obvious Vikings, right? You're starting Cousins, you're starting Jefferson, you're starting Hawkinson. I think you're probably starting Jordan Addison. Probably squinting and starting Alexander Madison and not feeling good about it, right? As you see it there on your screen. I mean, I have Madison as a top 15 play this week, but on the other side, Adam Thielen's the only guy that I feel decent about. I'm as a top 30 wide receiver. You're not starting Hurst. I don't feel great about DJ Shark just yet. I mean, obviously you're starting Miles Sanders, I guess, but because of the volume, he's going to get in this great matchup with the Vikings run defense, but Miles Sanders and Adam Thielen are the only guys in the Panthers that you feel like are must starts here.
Yep, and look, I mean, the line is Vikings -4.5. The total is 46.5. So the market's expecting like a 26-21 Vikings win. And yeah, it's kind of hard to see Bryce Young getting to 21 points. The Vikings are probably going to have to go off for that total to go over. We just haven't seen anything yet from Bryce Young. Has he disappointed you so far?
Yeah, he's not seeing the field physically. He's obviously a smaller guy, so there's a lot of limitations of what you can't do with him, and he's going to have to honestly have his success off of rhythm and timing. And to also be fair to Bryce Young, with the offensive line in front of him, there is no rhythm and timing. The wide receivers around him, Adam Thielen's been fine, but there hasn't been a lot around him that plays in the system that he likes to play. So it's kind of all worlds colliding in not the best way for his rookie season.
And by the way, think about who the Vikings have played this year. The Vikings have had to have this incredible comeback offense where they've been chucking it all over the field because they were down to the Eagles. They were, playing. They were in a shootout with the Chargers, right? I mean, even Tampa Bay showed up week 1, and they're like, oh wow, actually, okay, we got now all of a sudden, the Bucs actually, okay, now we get. I don't think they're going to have to do that against the Panthers. They're not only going to have to throw. Kirk Cousins is not going to have to throw 45 times in this game.
Yep, agreed. This is, again, kind of last chance saloon for Alexander Madison because Cam Akers now expecting him to be active and more in the fold. If Madison has a bad game in this matchup, then it might be the Cam Akers show from next week.
Again, he's gotten lucky with it. That's a great point, Jay. He's gotten lucky with the fumbles, Alexander Madison, but he's had some bad fumbles that they've ended up recovering. But Kevin O'Connell actually talked about it in the press conference. It's like he didn't specifically, say anything about Madison. He's just like, we're having too many turnovers. I believe they lead the NFL in turnovers as we enter week 4. And so he's just like, we've got to hold on to the ball, and they're just not doing that. So I'm with you. Cam Akers, who's familiar with the offense, and the coaches traded for him. Yeah, Madison has a very short leash.
That'll do it for What's on Tap, presented by Bud Light. Easy to Sunday, easy to enjoy. We're going to break one last time. When we're back, it's last call. Jay and I have our undefeated pickup lines for Matthew.
I'm just going to say this right now, Jay and Connor. You two both are also easy to enjoy.
All right.
Just like Bud Light. You're the Bud Light of the show.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. All right, fellas, it's that time of the week. Jay and I got pickup lines. Matthew has to make a decision. Let's look at the biggest spreads of the week, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. Jay, What do you got for Mr. Berry this week here at the Happy Hour Bar?
Well, first, we've got a lot of big lines on the board here. I'm with Matthew thinking the Cardinals getting 2 touchdowns against the Niners is a little bit big, particularly if Deebo Samuel doesn't play. And I hate to say it, but I kind of like the Commanders +9 against the Eagles as well. We remember the Commanders, in fact, beat the Eagles last year when they were undefeated. Don't like your Jets as much, Connor, getting only 9 points against Patrick Mahomes. But in terms of my pickup line,
and you already told me, like, I like the under in the Panthers-Vikings game.
Under 46.5.
Yep.
My pickup line, Matthew, is and by the way, these pickup lines are undefeated. We haven't lost on one of them yet.
It really is true. Like because we do this segment on Fantasy Football Pregame as well, and so you guys pitch me pickup lines. Last week, you and Michael Smith and Lawrence Jackson picks. You and Lawrence, I should not Michael, but you and Lawrence pitched me lines. We're 9-0 on the season, and by we, I really mean these guys. I choose one, but
that
I can't
means
screw
you
it up.
haven't chosen wrong.
That's right. And I love segments like that where I can't screw it up because those segments don't come along very often for your boy Matty. So yeah, give me a couple of winners here, guys.
I like you've introduced Matty today.
Yeah,
you
it's
haven't
the
really
first time.
used the kind
We've
of
done this show for
self-reflexive
how long now? And that's a
Matty
new one.
before. I
Yeah.
like the introduction of this Matty character.
Yeah.
Okay, my pickup line to keep the streak alive, unbeaten. Ezekiel Elliott. His rushing total against the Dallas Cowboys, who he's familiar with, is only 27.5 rushing yards. He had 16 carries for 80 yards against the Jets. Ramondre Stevenson doesn't look right, or at least he doesn't look good. And just quietly, the worst rushing defense in the entire league by success rate against the Dallas Cowboys. So I think that Zeke is going to get work against his old team. I think he's going to have enough success on the ground to get to 28 rushing yards. That's tiny. So Zeke over 27.5.
Cowboys 25th against the run through 3 weeks as well. All right.
I like it, Jay. I'm going with Bengals covering the 2.5 points against the Titans. Listen, I think this is the last week that the books look at the Titans as a highly competitive, in-every-game kind of team. Their offensive line has been really, really bad. Their secondary can't cover anyone. I also think Burrow's injury is baked into this line, which I understand, but him and Chase got going last week. Yeah. They started to look right again. Burrow's been back at practice. It's the classic case of the Bengals starting off slow. I think this is a get-well game for the Bengals against. The Titans front is tough, but I don't think that matters. I think they can get the quick passing game going to all their weapons against an awful Titans secondary.
Just quickly, half the Titans team is on the injury report as well.
Yeah, I think those are both really good bets. I'm going with Connor here. I do. I think Burrow's on my love list. I think this is, quote, a coming out party for Joe Burrow this year. He's going to be fully healthy. Yeah, I don't think they have any problem covering the 2.5. So I like both bets, but give me Joe Burrow as well. Real quickly, by the way, while we're in the break, David Newton covers the Panthers for ESPN, tweeting out Panthers running back Miles Sanders is questionable for Sunday with a groin injury. You would certainly like Chuba Hubbard getting a majority of the work against the Vikings and their bottom 12 run defense. So interesting. Watch the Miles Sanders injury. We'll have more on Fantasy Football Pregame with Jay and Michael Smith and Taylor Swift live from MetLife Stadium, 11 a.m. Eastern on Peacock on Sunday morning. For Connor and Jay, I'm Matthew. It's closing time, which means you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Peace out! Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.